Top college athletes officials testified again before U.S. Congress on Tuesday on how student athletes are compensated. University associations, or the NCAA, changed its rules in 2021 to allow athletes to make money from their personal brand. They call it name, image, and likeness. There's a debate now on how that law should look.
College sports are a ticket to an education for 500,000 young people, generating $4 billion in college aid. College sports are cornerstones to countless campuses, and in turn, they are cornerstones for thriving communities. College sports are America's Olympic pipeline, with 75% of the 2022 Team USA coming up through NCAA sports.
Currently, there's a patchwork of state laws that govern the name, image, and likeness that some want replaced with a comprehensive national standard. Now, for more on this, we're joined by Kate Delaney, Emmy Award-winning sports commentator, joining us from St. Petersburg, not far from Tampa. I'm sorry about your Rays. But first, tell our audience, or explain to our audience, this name, image, and likeness. This has only been around for a couple of years. What's so great about it? And then I'll get to, like, what's the controversy here?
Well, what's so great about it, Phil, is that from my perspective, athletes have been making universities, colleges, millions and millions of dollars. You know, they get super popular, they're all over social media, and they weren't profiting at all. So name, image, and likeness, that coming down the pike a couple of years ago, like you said, was so big, because that means individually athletes like Olivia Dunn from LSU, who really made a big splash last year, making over $3 million, was able to get contracts individually with like Forever 21 and Grubhub, and the university got none of this. This was individually a deal cut for her. And why did they want to be in bed with her, so to speak? Because she has so many followers.
Yeah, okay, super cool. So what's the problem? What's the controversy here?
Well, I think the colleges, frankly, some of them want to be able to have a piece of that money, to be able to control it, to maybe get some of that sponsorship back for themselves, let's say. I'll say just a few. And then the other part is, what if you have all the other athletes who aren't as popular and they don't cut any deals, they get no NIL, and it's only people like Shedeur Sanders, for example, who is awesome as the quarterback for Colorado, and his valuation is like $5 million. But what about all the others on the team? Sometimes that creates a little bit of a problem and a little bit of tension and jealousy.
Well, look, we all know what happens, because the ones that do the best to promote themselves or have the most followers, or whatever you want to call it, are going to get the most attention. The rest of the groups, unless you're really focusing on talking to companies or getting your name out there, no one's going to come to you and just say, here's a pile of money, come wear my t-shirt. And so the issue is, these colleges, they're the ones that, first of all, the NCAA approved this 2 years ago. Wouldn't they have thought about that this was ultimately going to be the issue, that it's not ever going to be fair? A few are going to get a lot, and a lot are going to get nothing.
Well, first of all, I think that the NCAA reluctantly relented and decided to give in to NIL. I don't think they really wanted to do that. So it's the Wild West. There aren't any rules. It's kind of all over the place, depending on the conference, depending on the school. And I don't think they were thinking that far along, that this is going to create problems. But I 100% agree with you. I mean, you got to get your name out there. So you've got to be able to do what you have to do on social media. And if some kid is mining that, then they should be rewarded for that, especially if they're a star athlete.
Yeah, I mean, but you are, for lack of a better word, essentially a corporate sponsor, or a corporate ambassador for a large company. And if we have a national standard, what would it look like?
That's a great question, because there's been a lot of problems with that. As far as, there were senators last year that were throwing this up. Senator Cory Booker, for one, from New Jersey, was really pushing to have some sort of regulation that didn't necessarily involve the government, but would there be a way to make sure that there was somehow this was regulated? And those talks are still out there. That's still happening. but some of what was going to be worded and put in these bills has been thrown out. Like they were talking about antitrust legislation, that's gone, that's off the table. So it's still a work in progress.
So here, I do have a question on who qualifies for name, image, and likeness. Assuming we're back in college and we play ping pong, can we benefit from name, image, and likeness? Or let's say we get a scholarship from the university. At the end of the day, if it wasn't for the scholarship, we wouldn't even be there as well. Who actually qualifies, or does everybody, no matter what sport or any sport, quite frankly, you play, qualify?
Anybody qualifies. If you have a bigger than life personality, if you have a huge social media footprint, I love your analogy about ping pong. I think if you and I went to college together and we played ping pong, we would absolutely qualify for NIL. And that's what it's about. So it can be a sport that's not necessarily football or gymnastics, even though that's what it seems to be, or basketball. It could be somebody from a more obscure sport that doesn't get a lot of coverage. Again, if they have a huge following on Instagram, TikTok especially, right, any of the social medias.
Kate, I love the idea that athletes, young athletes can monetize it. I hate the gray area. It's been 2 years. They got to figure it out so these kids can move on, make their money, and focus on school. Kate, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Thank you.